So I personally think that there is two main reasons why your dog is pulling you every single day. And the first reason is because you let them. Now, when I say that you let them pull, I don't mean that you're doing it on purpose. And I know how annoying and frustrating that may have sounded. But what I do mean is that if you give a dog an inch, they're going to take a mile in most cases. And what's happening from the moment that you go out on your walks is that you're letting your dog inch further and further and further in front, which actually creates this snowball effect where eventually your dog might have only started pulling by this much, but now they're pulling by this much. So when I say that you're letting them, what I don't mean is that you're just saying, hey buddy, pull me. What I mean is that you're letting them do it over time, small little bits, piece by piece, which is now ultimately turned into this absolutely savage pulling maniac that you have on the end of the lead. So that snowballing tends to happen from the moment you put the dog on the lead. It is happening straight out the front door. It's happening immediately as you leave your house. The dog has already pulled you out the front door. The dog has already pulled you down the driveway. The dog has already now pulled you to that patch of grass or that hedge that they want to go to the toilet on so badly. And it's really important that you're identifying that this is actually causing the overall problem that you have. So I don't mean to sound condescending, but it really is that simple. If you never let your dog pull you, they won't pull you. You have to be really, really strict. And it's about being really aware of those little moments where maybe you're in a rush, or, you know, your dog's seen their favorite person in the whole world, or they've seen their best friend on a walk, and, you know, you let them pull them over to you. Those are the occasions where it's going to slowly start to snowball. So what I make sure is that from the moment I take a dog's lead, I am never, ever, ever letting them pull me in any direction. So as soon as the lead builds up tension in any direction, I'm immediately going to stop, change direction, and make it super, super clear to the dog that under no circumstances are we going anywhere if you pull me. So the other reason why your dog isn't walking very nicely on their lead is simply because you just haven't spent enough time truly showing them what they're supposed to do. They don't really understand the concept of walking nicely on a lead, and that's always most commonly done by trying to teach your dog to walk while being on a walk. So what I mean by that is you're going on your regular walk, on your round the block, on your A to B type walks, and you're trying to get your dog to walk nicely on those walks. That is a recipe for disaster, because there's going to be so many distractions, so many things that are going to get in the way, so many things that are going to take your dog's attention away from you. And what that is like trying to learn how to drive in the middle of a city center at rush hour. You are not going to be able to learn to drive because there is going to be so many things going on. You're going to freak out. You're going to get overwhelmed. You're probably going to get terrified of driving as a result, which actually is kind of what's happening to a lot of dogs. Is, you know, they're becoming reactive, they're pulling, they're getting scared, they're getting this, they're getting overexcited because they're just being overwhelmed by having far too much put on their plate at once. So much like driving, what you would do is you would start learning how to do that in a quiet environment. You're going to start in a car park, in a cul-de-sac, in a quiet area, and then you're going to slowly but surely build up. Now you have to do the exact same thing with your dogs when you're teaching them how to walk. You need to make sure that you're doing it in a controlled environment, in a calm environment, and then slowly but surely you're going to want to increase the distractions, and then increase the distance that you're traveling, and increase the duration of which your dog is supposed to stay by your side. You really want to be doing that until essentially you don't really need the lead at all. So for example, with Daphne, I want to be able to just lure her into the position and not really have to use much lead at all. And then if I was to drop the lead and say heel, I mean, now I've got both dogs heeling with me right now, which is cool. But we want to be able to have them walk by our side without using the lead. That is the key, because if you can get to the point where you're doing that, and actually it's really hard for you to get away from the dog, because that's essentially what I'm trying to do when I'm trying to teach the dog to walk nicely on the lead, is I get to a point where actually what I'm doing is I'm trying to get away from them, and I can't, because I've taught them that following me is the best thing in the whole world. So if I try to get away from them, they just follow me everywhere I go, and then you can slowly but surely shape that into what you want. And then once you've got them at this level, then you can start taking on a little bit more challenge. You can start going to different places. You can start seeing dogs. You can start seeing people. You can start going to towns. You can start doing all of these things that you probably want to do. But I would really encourage you to not rush it. And what you want is you want 10 out of 10 perfect in a place like this where there's nothing going on. And then once you've got that 10 out of 10 perfect, you take this and you just add a little bit more distraction. And that might just be a completely different place. But when you pick that new place, don't pick it on a Saturday, don't pick it on a busy day, just pick it on a calm day where you know that it's going to be a new environment, the dog's going to be taken by surprise, they're going to be overexcited, they might be a little bit nervous because it's a new place. But because you've got this 10 out of 10 behavior already now, where you can say to them, heel, and they know exactly what that means and where to be, it's going to be easy. It's not going to be 10 out of 10. It will slip. It will drop down to a 8 out of 10. It will drop down to maybe a 7 out of 10. But what it won't drop down to is a 1 out of 10. And that's when you're in trouble. That's when you're frustrated. That's when you're getting problems. And that's when you'll start to have that snowball happening to you again. So be really patient and just take your time with this process. And I guess this is a bit of a bonus tip for you guys, but don't phase out reward so quickly. Don't try to phase out reward. I think a lot of people that I see, they say to me, when can I stop rewarding? When do I stop giving food? And in my opinion, there should be no rush to get rid of food, especially if your dog is so food motivated like Daphne is. She's an absolute maniac for food and it's amazing. What you want to make sure is that you're getting thousands and thousands of repetitions in, and obviously over time you can slowly try to phase out food. But if you're adding in new environments, you're adding in new places, you're adding in distractions and all these types of things, or you're expecting your dog to cope under different levels of intensity, whether it be other dogs, other people, loud noises, anything like that, you have to make sure that you're bringing food in. It doesn't matter how many thousands of times you've walked past one dog on the other side of the street. If there's 2 dogs, 3 dogs, 4 dogs, it's a completely different story. Make sure that you are heavily rewarding your dog until you are 100% sure that you have ticked every single box that there is to tick, and you've rewarded your dog for succeeding in every single scenario that you could possibly have them be in. And then maybe you can start thinking about fading out reward, but never entirely removing reward. Even with my own dogs, Magic is still getting rewarded all the time for just doing the things I want her to do. You stole that one off of her, didn't you? So always be good on your rewards. Don't try and phase it out too quickly. Obviously it looks great if you've got a dog that is doing all of these things and you're not having to feed them, but don't think that you're bribing your dog, because that's not what you're doing. If you're training and you're using food in the right way, you're not going to be bribing your dog. You're going to be teaching them how to do things like heel, and they're going into position and then they're getting rewarded for doing it, rather than getting to a point where you have to use it to always get them in it. So yeah, for me, I would say just don't rush getting rid of food, because that's disgusting. Because if you get rid of food too quickly, your dog's going to lose interest, they're going to lose motivation, they're not going to want to do the things that you want them to do, because where's the incentive in that? And you're going to start losing the behavior. So especially when you start going into those busy environments, you're starting to challenge your dog, you're starting to challenge yourself. If you think that you're so good at training your dog that you don't need food, you're probably going to get a bit of a shock to the system when your dog starts ignoring you completely. So make sure that you are still heavy on the food. Go on, break. I know you want to run after. So as always, I really hope that's helped you guys out, and I'll see you on the next video.